So good morning, good morning. My name is Charise Liburd. I'm the CEO of the 297 Group, and we are a nonprofit consultancy, and our whole goal and mission in life is to help nonprofits get and keep their funding. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, but today what we're going to be talking about is basically from passion to funded. We want you to be able to know that you have this passion, this burning passion in you. You've either started a nonprofit or you work with a nonprofit, and sometimes it's difficult to understand how to move along the line of taking it from the heart passion and going into the funded space, funded meaning not just out of your pockets. So again, let me go ahead and introduce myself. For those of you that are coming in, again, Charise Liburd. I'm the CEO of the 297 Group. I have been a funder. I was in the funding space for over 20 years, 25 years actually. I started my career in the nonprofit sector with the Heart of Florida United Way, and I was in the department that gave out the grants. So learned from the bottom up there. My degrees in nonprofit management. And then I was with the county for over a decade where I actually was the person who manned the program, the Citizens Review Panel program here in Orange County under Family Services that would fund nonprofit organizations, health and human services, nonprofit organizations to do the work with RFPs. So I have seen it all. I have seen organizations that are very large, multi-million-dollar organizations, and I have seen organizations that fill out the 990N. And if you don't know what that is your informational tax information that you file annually with the IRS. And basically the N means that you're saying that you're getting under $50,000 a year. So I have seen startups and I have seen large and well-established organizations and have seen, quite frankly, challenges with both sets. Challenges oftentimes happen where you might have even got the funding, but how do you keep the funding by making sure that you're in compliance and reporting? And then some, of course, challenges with the smaller and younger organizations about how to even get the funding. And so my goal and my task in life at this point is to help those organizations and basically give you the tidbit that I could not give to you when I was working as the funder, because now I'm on the other side, so I can share the information with you. So thank you again for joining us. We're going to go through learning. We're going to be learning today. This is not about me just wanting to give you tidbits. I'm actually going to be training you today. What you'll learn, we're going to talk about the 3 I's. We'll get into what that is, the types of funds that you can get, how to find them. And then I'll give you an opportunity at the end to just share a little bit more about what we do here at the 297 Group. And if you want to engage with us and go deeper, you'll understand how to do that. So hopefully that's fair for you, that we're able to give you this free training, but we will let you know how you can go deeper with us if you want to engage with us more. All right, let's jump in. Good morning to everyone. What are these 3 I's? Like, what do you mean by 3 I's? And 3 I's here that I love to start with and teach are inspiration, investment, and impact. What are they? What do they mean? As you can see, it's like a continuous journey that nonprofit leaders face when we're talking about, what's next and what happens. But we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to make it linear just for demonstration purposes. When you're first getting started as a nonprofit leader or a founder, you were inspired to do something. So let's look at inspiration. The definition of inspiration is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something. So something may have happened, whether it's in your family or you saw a cause in the community, something happened that inspired you to get started, to say, I am going to found this a nonprofit organization, or I'm going to work in that field because I want to help more. Feel free to share in the chat what are some of those things that may have inspired you personally in your journey in the nonprofit. I'm looking here in the chat as well. And Virginia, welcome. And you said your foundation helps preemie babies and their families in NICU. That is such an important cause, because I know my daughter's friend, she just had a preemie baby, younger person in her 20s, and it has to be very, very scary, when you're not sure what's going on with your new baby. So welcome. We appreciate that. But what is the thing that may have inspired you? Feel free to share that in the chat. So something inspired you to get started. Next, there's investments, right? And there's investments in everything in life. Everything that we do, there's a level of investment. We're going to invest our time, which is finite, right? We're going to invest our energy, and we're going to invest our money of some sort, right? And so when you're a nonprofit leader, especially if you're founding a nonprofit or you're in the board of a nonprofit, you're investing all of these things. If you're working with the organization, oftentimes you're still investing all of these things. You're investing your time. How many hours am I going to be able to give to the organization or the cause? Your energy. Sometimes when you just want to go home and curl up on the couch, I have to go to that event, I have to volunteer, and your monies or your resources of understanding where, the monies that you work so hard for, how do these things work? We need monies to make organizations work because nonprofits are businesses. So again, we're talking about the 3 I's, something that inspired you. You decided to make an investment of your time, energy, and money. And the ultimate goal then is to make an impact. You want to make an impact on something, someone, right? So you want to have a strong effect on something or so. You want to change something. You want parents, I'm just going to use Virginia's text. You want parents to feel like they are comforted or knowing that someone is there for them, based on the fact that you're working in a field where you're taking care of these babies that are so fragile. Babies are fragile anyway, but when they're born preemie, they're even more fragile. So, we want to make an impact. We want to make a change. Keep thinking about that. I wanted to make a change in something, and that's why I got involved in this sector, in this organization. So always remember why you do what you do. Everything that you do is for a reason, and nobody just decides, oh, I want to just go help everybody with all my energy, my time, my efforts, and my funding if you wanted to make a change or a big impact. So just remember that, because we know as we go along the journey, sometimes it gets tough. And so we always have to come back. And that's why I like to start with the 3 I's. Come back to, why did I want to get started in the first place? What inspired me? What investments am I willing to make or have committed? And what impact do I want to see? And that's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, or you're doing what you're doing. Now, tell me something. In your journey as founding a nonprofit or being a nonprofit leader, have you ever heard of this myth? If you have, put yes in the comment, thumbs up, tell me something in the chat. The truth or myth, when you get to a 501c3 funding will rain from the sky. The grants will come, the donations will come, all of the things will come from the sky as soon as you get that 501c3 letter. And this is for some of you newer organizations, but for those organizations that might have been established, you might have remembered this too. You thought that money was going to fall from heaven because you got through the first hurdle of getting your 501c3 as a nonprofit organization. The truth is, right? We know the truth. It is a myth. It is a myth. You need to have a plan and an understanding of how to raise those monies, because they will not just fall from the sky. One of the things that is going to be so essential for you to understand is you have to be able to answer these questions. What are these questions? What do you mean? I got to answer questions. Nobody told me how to answer questions. You have to be able to answer these questions. Who are you? Who do you serve? How do you serve them? And quite frankly, as the funder, why should I care? And when I say that, sometimes people cringe. You're like, oh my gosh, what do you mean why you should care? You should care because it's a wonderful cause. But honestly, why should I care as a funder? So you have to be able to articulate these things, know who you are, know who you serve specifically, how am I serving them, and why somebody else should care, so that they're wanting to dig in their pockets, right, to help fund your mission and your cause. If you can't answer these 4 questions, we need to get you to jot them down, take a screenshot, do something, because we need succinct answers to these questions. So how do we answer these questions? Well, we're going to go back again to the 3 I's, but you can see we shuffled it up a little bit, right? For personal reasons, when we get started, we started because we were inspired. Now, when you want someone else to fund you, you shuffle up the same three I's, but you start with impact. You're starting with the impact that you are making or want to make on the lives of the people that you serve, on the community that you serve. You want to start with impact, then go to inspiration, and then have them invest into what it is that you're doing, right? What is the mission that you're doing and how you're going to do it. Okay. So again, when we're thinking about impact, we're saying what is changing? What is changing in the community? What is changing to further the cause that you might have? What is changing in the lives of the people that you serve? Essentially, you're asking a question, what is the difference that we are making? We personally are making, our program is making in the lives of other people. So I'm gonna sit back for a minute. We'll take a break. We're thinking about impact. We're going to go deeper now. So we're starting right now. We're getting into the crux of this stuff. Have you ever, tell me, make sure you put a thumbs up in the chat, put a 1 in the chat, put a yes in the chat. Have you ever felt that you are just doing activities? You're just doing the thing. I'm busy. I'm just doing it. We wake up every day. We're going to this event. We're serving these people, but we're just so busy. We're doing, doing, doing. Have you ever felt like this? If you have, go ahead and put something in the chat, let us know. Oftentimes, a lot of nonprofits feel like this. And they're just like, they're so busy, they're so running, that sometimes you can't see the bigger picture because you're in it. You're doing, you're running, you're running. So let me know, what do you think this is? The picture on the screen, what do you think that picture is as far as what does it look like? Feel free to put that in the chat again. I have heard over the years that it looks like a sweater. I have heard it looks like a ball. I have heard many, many things. I've heard many things that it looks like. Tell me, what do you think it looks like if you have the opportunity to put it in? Yam. Oh, I have never heard that one. That's a good one. Somebody says it looks like, oh, yarn. I'm sorry. Listen, I got these glasses and I still can't see. It looks like yarn. Okay. Okay, that's a good guess. Well, let me show you all what it is. It is actually a flower. It is a beautiful flower. It's not even one petal of a flower. Here on a rag doll. It's a flower. The reason I do this exercise with you is because we want always to remember that sometimes we have to step back and see from a bigger perspective. When we're busy running that wheel, everything is right here. We can't even see the horizon because we are so busy. And as nonprofit leaders, that's exactly what happens. We are so busy that we can't see the everything else and what we're actually doing. Is it making a difference? Sometimes we wonder, like, is it actually making a difference? So I wanted to share that with you. So the way that you would know if what you're doing is making a difference, that impact that we're talking about, we're going to talk about outcomes. Right? You may have heard about it. What do you mean what's the outcome? If you ever written a grant or heard something from government funding, outcome is for sure a big thing that we look for, right? Because we're looking, what changes are you making? So how long, put in the chat, for those of you that have been working in this sector or have founded a nonprofit, how long have you been doing so? Regardless if you're in day 1 or year 10, you are doing it for a reason. You want to make a change. Remember those 3 I's, right? So we're going to go right now into the next few slides. If you have never heard of outcomes, we're going to cover it briefly. I could go deep on outcomes all day long. I love thinking about impact and measuring impact and having organizations to understand that what they're doing is actually making a change. But if you have never heard of it, we're going to keep it simple for today, and then we'll be able to go deeper in future engagements. So what are outcomes? Okay, it's the change that we're making, is the impact that we might want to make, but how do I develop an outcome for this program that I'm doing? So I have a tutoring program. I'm not sure how to develop an outcome for it to say these kids are learning, right? Because we have to be able to, again, we're taking our passion and turning it into funding, but we have to be able to sell something, basically. Listen, dollars and cents, we got to sell something. For nonprofits, we're selling the impact. We are selling to the community that we are helping to make a difference. So with the outcome statement, there's 4 parts. You could screenshot this slide. There's 4 parts to an outcome statement, okay? There's a change statement, which means you're going to increase, decrease, maintain, improve, reduce, or expand something in what? It might be in the person's attitude, their perception, their knowledge. It might be the condition of the area. Maybe it's the whole community, their behaviors, right? The target, who is the target? The program participant. It might be a client. It might be one person. It might be an entire family. So it might be a school district. It might be students. It doesn't matter who is your target audience. But the key thing is through what? Through what activities are you going to do to make the differences or make the impact in their life, right? So we want to make sure that you have that information, because this is the foundational element of how you are going to be able to sell or inspire others. Remember, we shifted around the 3 I's. So now we're starting with impact so that we can inspire others to invest. All right. We want to make sure when we're writing our outcome statements, right? And you're saying, oh, this is my goal, this is my impact, this is my outcome, because people oftentimes kind of mix all of those things up. Your outcome statement or your impact statement is not necessarily your goal. A goal is like a larger than life thing. I'm going to end homelessness in the world. Your organization will not end homelessness, but you will have an impact in your area and in the lives of the people that you touch. So remember, when you're creating your outcome statements to say, this program will have this impact on these students or these people, make sure they're smart. And I'm sure you've heard about SMART. SMART meaning specific, is very specific to your target audience, is very specific to what you're doing. Make sure it's measurable. If you can't measure it, you don't know how much. Right? You don't know how much. If you're just gonna say, drink water, like they say, drink water, this many, they say eight glasses of water is healthy. I think that's what it is still a day. But it's like, what is 8 glasses? If you want to be specific, you would have to say 8 ounce glasses, right? That makes sense. So you want to make sure it's measurable. You want to make sure it's achievable. Doesn't make sense. Like, again, we're not going to end world hunger because I'm just an organization in Central Florida, and I'm not going to be able to end world hunger in the entire world just from what I'm doing here. But together, all of the organizations that are working can do that. So what can I achieve here in my community? Is it relevant? We want to make sure that it's relevant to what you're doing. It's relevant to the needs. It's relevant to the people that you're serving, and time bound. I'm going to have this program, and in 6 months, we're going to see improvement in the knowledge of the students that we're tutoring. We're going to see their grades go up. In 6 months, we're going to have a mentoring program where students are now feeling more confident in themselves. So these are the type of things. In 6 months, parents will know how to take care of their babies when their babies go home and transition homes. And I'm saying 6 months, it doesn't have to be 6 months, it could be a year, but make sure it could be 3 months. It could be after one session, but make sure whatever it is, when you're writing these statements, there's a time frame around it, because you want to be able to measure and see, did we accomplish what we were wanting to accomplish? And that way, that's the information, right? The data that you're going to use. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I'm going to give you one example without going too deep. Let's say I have a tutoring program, right? I have a tutoring program. We want to make sure what we're doing is helping. Our outcome statement is to increase the knowledge, increase the number of passing 9th grade students in algebra based on our after school tutoring program. So you can see the 4 parts right there on the screen in example. How am I going to do that, right? We have, we got to figure out what is the best way for us to be able to know if we're increasing. So our indicator, which is the thing that's going to tell us, are we going in the right direction, essentially will end up being the number of passing 9th grade students. And like I said, I go way deeper, and I can break this down even more in future trainings, but I want to give you a sense of, if you are not collecting any kind of data, we need to get you started right now. because that is what funders are looking for. Funders are looking for proof to show that you are doing what your mission says that you're doing, and there is actual proof. The proof is in the pudding. That's what funders are looking for. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have those things there. So after you get all of that, now what? Now, what are we doing about that? Because we talked about the 3 I's. So we figured out a way to measure what we're doing and what we're doing in the program. Now we have to say, now what's going to happen next? So the next thing is we want to inspire people to do something. We want to inspire people. Sorry, my grandson coming. We want to inspire people to do something as far as make a difference in what's going on. So just the same way that you were inspired to do something, we want them to be able to say, okay, because we're seeing what you're doing and we want to come alongside you, we're going to dig in our pockets. We are going to then say, we're going to give a donation. We are going to give the grant. We're going to do a corporate sponsorship. We're going to do that. So we want to make sure that that is happening. And how do we inspire people to do that? We tell the story. So now that you're gathering all of the information, our goal is to make sure that we have passing 9th grade students. Again, at the end of the year, we're going to measure and see how many 9th grade students were passing because we were tutoring them. So now I can say, hey, because of our tutoring program, we had 5 at the beginning of the year that was passing out of a class of 20. Now we have 15. So we're showing that we are actually doing the work. Again, shortcutted it. I know because going into outcomes and impact and how to measure, I'll do a whole separate training on that because that is so important to me that people understand how to do that. But the point was to make sure that you have something that you are measuring and that you are able to get that data and that proof so that you could tell your story. And how do you tell your story? You're going to tell it to program. You're going to share that on social media. You're going to let the funders know that if you give me $1, we could turn $1 into a meal. We're going to be able to do something. You're showing proof and you're tying the dollars to outcomes. So for every $25 that you donate, we're able to provide 4 hours of tutoring to the student that was failing in algebra. We know if they fail in school, they will not, they have a lesser chance of trying to be a productive citizen because we need them to graduate high school. Hopefully, if they choose to go on to secondary education. So you're painting the picture and telling the story. And so how many of you, put in the chat, raise your hand. How many of you are numbers person? Do you like numbers? If you don't, thumbs down. If you do, thumbs up. I am not necessarily a numbers person, but I kind of am, if that makes sense. Quantitative data, that impact measurement I told you about, how many people are passing, we help them increase their GPA by 2 points, how many of our students, I love that. That's my jam. So numbers in that sense, I can do, I love it. I love budgeting and stuff. I get into grants with all of that information, but I like the story too. Okay, Patricia, my husband is. I love the story. So when you have the numbers because you've been measuring something and then you put your story together, let me tell you something. That's where your money power is. That's where you're going to get donors. That's where you're going to get the funders because they want to see not just the story. And now there's opportunities and times for just stories, right? You're not going to be able to share everybody. Well, let me tell you the statistical results of blah, blah, blah. But if you could then develop different types of stories, right? In a short and succinct way, in your newsletter, you might be able to tell a little bit longer story, add your numbers. In the elevator, with me on elevator, you might be able to say, listen, we helped 20 students graduate high school last year out of 40 or out of 30. Maybe, they were all failing. We're still working with the other 10. We hope to have them graduated within a year. And let me tell you about Jimmy. This is how he was doing, so you formulate your story. We're not going to go deep on storytelling in this particular session, but you formulate your story into sharing what you're doing, those results, but those numbers backing up the stories, because you will always have someone that says, yeah, but show me the proof. Show me the data. Tell me exactly what does that mean for me. So if you have the number story, the quantitative and the qualitative stories, and you put them together, you are way ahead of the game, probably more way ahead than you thought about. Okay. And so let's talk about the last I then, the investment. But now this time, we're not talking about your investment, we're talking about the investment of others, right? We just switched it up. So we're able to show our impact, tell the story, and then get others to invest. People invest where they believe that something is happening. Will you give your money to a cause if you're like, I'm not sure they're doing anything with the money? How many times have you heard scandals, whether it's a nonprofit scandal where people donated money and then the money didn't go to the victims or something, and they're like, I'm never giving to that organization again. And we know that a lot of times that happens when it's like major natural disasters or something that may happen. So you know how you invest your money. So remember, people that give are people just like you. So you want to make sure that same three eyes, but we want to make sure that we're telling them what we're doing. We're doing this work. We're not just saying we're doing, give us $1, like we're scamming people. We're actually out here doing the work. So we're telling, we're have the data to show you. We're telling you in the stories, and now we're asking you to invest. I like to say invest versus donors. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but I like people to understand that a nonprofit is a business. And when you're a business, you're inviting others to come alongside you and invest for the same outcome. For a nonprofit, the outcome is not necessarily profits in their pocket, but it's the bigger impact that we can have on the communities that we serve. All right. So this is how we take from passion to dollars. This is how we go from passion to dollars. If you understand the first half of what I was saying, then you'll be like, oh, let me go back and craft these stories because now I have the ammunition that I need to go seek the funding. So for the next few minutes, I'll talk a little bit about funding, so you understand, like, excuse me, so you understand where the funding is. I know that was good, but where do I find this funding? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. Let's talk about that next, okay? This is the funding pie. I like to say this is the funding pie. There's a lot of other places to get funding from, but for me, they kind of fall into these categories, okay? We have donors, which are individual people that give. We'll talk about that. We have grants. Grants are on there. I'll tell you, grants should not be more than 30% of your pie. Nobody tells you that at first, right? They're like, go get a grant, go get a grant. Grants should not be more than 30% of your funding pie. And the truth, the reason is, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, when you get a grant, you become the person that has to deliver for that grant. And if you don't deliver, you don't get paid. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Fees and products. Fees and products, some nonprofits don't think about. Fees and products. You could charge fees. Yes, you can charge fees. You can absolutely charge fee as a nonprofit. You can sell products as a nonprofit. So make sure, of course, make sure you get with your accountant, but there's absolutely no reason that you cannot charge a fee for people who could afford to pay. You could always scholarship people in. We'll talk about that in a little bit more. I'll break it down. Events, of course, people have events all the time, and corporate sponsorships. So this is your funding pie. Take a look at it. Honestly, donors, in my opinion, should make up 66% of your pie. I know it depends on how you're funded. If your organization that might get very large government grants because of the services that you do, it might be flipped there. But I always stress in support for the growing nonprofit. Donors should be a big part of your funding pie, and there's no reasons that they can't be. How many of you either looked at any of either the Republican National Convention or the Democratic National Convention? Did anybody look at those? If you have, just raise your hand. One of the things that I wanted to, and I see you have a question, Ashina. I'll give me 1 second. Let me finish this thought, and then, or you can put it in the chat. I'll make sure I get it back to you. One of the things that I want to point out with those conventions were, we go back to stories for a second. They were talking to very different audiences, obviously. It's an election season. I'm not asking who you're voting for. That's irrelevant. The point is they were talking to very different audiences. One might have been more conservative. One might have been more liberal. The styles were different. But guess what? They were talking to support systems, to their support systems, their bases, their donors. right? They were talking to their donors in the ways that their donors like. Not every person that donates to the campaign is going to go to a convention. So there's other ways that they do it as well. They might do emails, they might do all of these things. But the donor base, you're building up a strong donor base, that really helps to offset the cost of the nonprofit. Remember, we want to get out of your pocket and other sources of funding. Okay. Um, let me go through this and then we'll get Ashina, I'm not forgetting you, but I'm just going to break it down a little bit right now. Again, donors are people that donate directly to you. Grants, it's money typically from government or foundations. Government are much more strict. You have to get a lot of requirements. Remember, I was a government funder. So I know that. And sometimes what they don't tell you are grants are cost reimbursement, meaning you have to do the work first and then get paid. So there's a lot of planning around that. So when I said typically do not have to be paid back, because again, as a local government funder, if we had funded an organization to do, I don't know, let's say 1,000 hours of mentoring for the youth, and for whatever reason they trucked and they only did 600 hours, we as government was telling that organization, pay us back our money. And the reason that we did that is because these were taxpayer dollars and we couldn't just be giving out taxpayer dollars for not getting the work done. So that's why I said typically do not have to be paid back, but sometimes in some instances, make sure you always read the fine print. Corporate sponsors are businesses that provide financial and kind support in exchange. They might want to be aligned with your organization or what you're doing, and they were willing to give you some money for that, right? And their names might end up being on an event that you're having. So brand exposure, all of that stuff, and it could go both ways. It could be that they're putting your name on their website or their events so more people could come to you. So corporate sponsorship is definitely a way to go. Events, of course, you could host events, tournaments, games, all of those things. Events tend to, quite frankly, sometimes they cost money, right, to put on. So you have to make sure that you're breaking even and you're doing well so that you can recoup and get extra money from the actual event. Fees and products, again, charge fees, sell products. Some of our largest organizations are hospitals, our universities, a lot of public universities. Those are nonprofit organizations. And trust and believe, my university asked me for my tuition check. And the hospital, if I go there right now, which is one of the largest nonprofits in the state of Florida, they're going to send me a bill. And it's okay. They're going to send me a bill for the services that they provided to me. So if you've never thought about it, I really want you to think about charging for your service fees and your products. Because I have a few more slides to go. I'm going to go ahead. Ashina, if you could come off of mute and just let's talk about it. If you could come off of mute and just ask your question or type it in the chat, I will be happy to answer that question now since we have a little bit of time before we finish up.
Okay, so I felt it better to just be able to ask the question instead of typing it because it's a little bit extensive. So we get some donation, well, not donations, we get some grant funding sometimes, and we do anti-hunger work. But I've realized, and something I've been concerned about, I've realized that a lot of funders, a lot of organizations are more willing to fund like food distributions as opposed to funding work that addresses the root causes of hunger. And at Florida Impact, we understand how important it is to address that work. And we have a lot of projects that we want to do to address that work. But we're finding that we're getting funders just addressing, the now. And let me give you money for food distribution. Let me give you money
Yeah.
for food distribution. And what I've been concerned about is that, of course, when an organization, let's say organization Sally Foundation, gives us $1,000, we once we do that food distribution, we want to go on our social media and say, we did this, we were able to feed 75 people. Thank you so much to Sally Foundation. My fear is that our followers on social media will see, oh, well, Sally Foundation, look, they're donating, they're doing great work. Let's donate to Sally Foundation, as opposed to saying, let's donate to Florida Impact and the work that they're doing. Because if we just get flat donors to just give money, as far as like, we can actually take those monies and do the root cause work. But if we have to continue to rely on those foundations that give us money just for food distributions, it's like we're not really solving the problem of hunger. So
Okay.
that's my fear. Are we really like shooting ourselves in the foot when we're giving credit to those organizations and thanking them for their support? are we pushing donors in their direction as opposed to generating those donations for ourselves, and how do we combat that?
That's a great question. So one, I'm gonna and I was gonna share it. Let's see, finding the funds. I'll share it in the next slide a little bit. But as far as combating the messaging or the thanking, right? You always want to make sure, yes, you do want to make sure that you're thanking people right away, whether it's an individual donor, even a grant. I've gotten plenty of cards and thank you cards. Even though, as the head of the grant team, and our team have gotten thank you cards, of course, in government, we're not taking anything. It's a thank you card. Thank you for the opportunity to apply, blah, blah, blah. You're building relationships. You're building relationships with people. Now, as far as thanking them, like on your social media and those things, people like different things. One, the Sally's Foundation even wants you to thank them under your social media, and maybe you just do it differently, right? And it might come down to A/B testing. So yeah, you could say, here are all of our partners that have supported us over the years, and Sally Foundation is one of them. We're able to and group them together, right? And because the truth is about human psychology is when we give us too many choices, we're not going to go. We're going to go to the path of least resistance, right? So when you go to a restaurant, and I'm saying when you go to a restaurant, they hand you a book, you're like, oh my gosh, where's the chicken? Where's the chicken? I don't know, it's chicken or steak. I don't know, because sometimes it's just too much. Have anyone else been in that situation? Don't leave me out here hanging by myself where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just page 10 of the food options. So maybe the way that you thank your sponsors or your donors in that instance, try different methods, right? Send them personalized thank you cards, put them in your annual report, which is not necessarily seen by the typical regular donor, like on social media. Maybe it is grouping them together, so you're not pointing at just one foundation, which makes it easier. Let me go look up Sally Foundation. It's all of the partners working together, right? And then also, so I would do like an A/B test. Try it that way. So they're still getting recognition, but they're not just recognized by the one thing. And then also try it where it's you're kind of listing them in other documentation or other opportunities, and maybe not in a place where you feel that the donors might then go somewhere else. But let me tell you something, and I was going to say this, and I say this in deeper other trainings too. Find your tribe. When I say find your tribe, but not just find it, create your tribe. Okay. Create your tribe. So if your organization has these donors or these followers, right, that individual people, call them something, call them Avengers. I don't care what you call them. Make it fun. Let them know. Sometimes organizations will be like, you're the sustainer. That's fine. And for more conservative people, sustainers might be fine, but call them something, because while Sally Foundation, yes, I could go give to them too. I'm aligning myself with my group. There's a reason that group think and group works, right? When you're part of a group, when you're part of a sorority, when you're part of the Rotary Club, you are going to go support there first. You're going to support your church first before you donate to another church if you go to a house of faith. So build a relationship with your individual donors that will strengthen them so that they don't go to Sally Foundation necessarily directly and say, let's cut her out. They're going to get the money anyway, but we're still thanking Sally Foundation. So kind of brainstorm how you want to do that. Do you want to group Sally Foundation with a bunch of other foundations that has helped to fund the cause? So it becomes like so many names, the person is not going to go look for all of them anyway. Do you want to maybe thank Sally Foundation in a different way? That might not be as public because it depends on how your donors are. But regardless of any of that, look at your donor base and create some kind of grouping so that they feel like I'm loyal to Florida Impact, because they're the ones that making it happen. They're the ones that went to Sally Foundation and told them about the issue in the first place. So they're the ones that are making it happen for us. So kind of think about how you could do that and then work on building up your donor base. Because the next question that you asked, and I was going to talk about it, but I'll just answer it now, was kind of like some foundations, some companies, they only want to fund the specific activity. And that is absolutely true. So you have to find out from these organizations, what is it that you want to fund? That's why the pie exists, because the individual donations might be the funding that comes in that is less earmarked, right? And you have the flexibility to do more. The corporate sponsors and the foundations, sometimes they don't want to even pay for, not the corporate sponsors, the grants and the foundation grants and government grants. Sometimes, hate to say this to you, they don't even want to pay for salaries. And I know it well, they don't want to pay for salaries, but you need the people to do the work. So really look at your pie and kind of see, what are they trying to pay for? I always tell clients that I work with that funding is like an orange or a clementine. Let's say a clementine is easier, right? Funding is like a clementine. Some people want to just give you money to fund a whole, you do whatever you feel like doing with it. And then some people want to get a slice and they want to fund one slice, and that's all they're going to fund. Don't ask me for nothing else. I'm not paying your light bill. I'm going to fund this slice because that's their bigger bang. The hint that I was going to give earlier, later on, but I'm going to do it right now. Listen up. This is a hint for y'all. Donors love stories, right? Donors like me, individual people, we love stories. And if we have those numbers with those stories, some few numbers in the right wording, you got us. We like to belong. People like to belong. Create an opportunity for people to belong to a group where they feel like they're moving this cause forward through your organization. Okay. So donors will become loyal in that sense. Ask for monthly donations. Funders, as far as government and grants, they like more so long-term programming. Okay, so we want to see the kid came in here, he had a D average, you're going to tutor him for a few months, and then when he come out, his GPA has gone up. That's what government funders want to see. They want to see the employment program. They didn't have a job, you trained them up, you get them some skills, and now they're gainfully employed. That's what typically grant funders want to see. Corporate sponsors, they love events. Why? Because they could put their name in lights, right? So corporate sponsors love events. If you have a conference coming up or a large distribution or a large backpack giveaway, your corporate sponsors will get behind that. It's going to be 10,000, maybe 25,000. They're not really going to ask for much of reporting because they just want to know, did it happen? Send us some pictures. They want to be able to brag upon what you're doing or what they're doing through you. Okay, so always remember that and keep that in mind. Now, you mentioned the foundation. So there's going to be some foundations that kind of ride the line between grants and corporate sponsors. So in your example, Sally Foundation kind of probably wanted more of the, we're going to just fund a specific event of this distribution. So kind of realize where your funders are if you have existing funders, and then speak to them. Remember I said there's different iterations of your story, whether it's reporting, whether it's on social media, whether it's on an email newsletter, whether, these different ways that might resonate with those people and protect your investors from only investing in your company or really making sure that their investments stay. I hope that was able to address your concerns, Ashina. If not, we definitely
Yes,
can
it
schedule
was.
time.
Thank you
Okay,
so
good,
much.
good,
Thank you. Because
good,
I
good, good.
never, like, we always just think, we want to thank the funders because we want to show them what we're able to do on a public platform. But we never thought to consider maybe they don't really care about the public platform. As long as they get an email, that's all that matters. So that's
It might
something
be email.
I,
It could be a phone call. I mean,
yeah.
it could be different things, especially with the building relationships in the way they want to build relationships.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
think we'll probably pivot to more showing the thanks to our donors on public platforms and then thank our funders through more of a private. Yeah.
Test it out. Like
Yeah.
for a month, let's try doing this one and see if anybody falls off or nobody fall off. Actually, we got more, then you keep going that direction. Always just do
Okay.
some tests. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm finishing up right now. Where to find the funding? Want to find the funds, y'all? We kind of talked about, because we talked about collecting the proof, getting you're passionate already, and then flipping those three eyes so that we could think about, we're measuring our impact, we are telling our story, and that we're investing, inviting the investors, the donors, the grantors, the corporate sponsors. Donors, always start with your board first. If you have not done this, you should. Your board should be donating to the organization that they're part of. Always ask for monthly support first. When is $10 more than $100 as far as a donation? Anybody put it in the chat? $10 more than $100 regarding donation. You tell me, I'll wait for the answer if anybody figured that out. But always ask for your donors, build that relationship, and always have a way for people to give. I was at an organization, great event, wonderful event, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would give to this organization. I went to the website, there was no give button. And the organization themselves, there was no way to like donate here, thank you for coming out. It was so, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to give you money, but there was no way to give the money. So make sure there's a way to give. Ashina, I see your answer. $10 is more than 100 when they're giving it $10 monthly for a year or more, right? They continue on beyond a year. So sometimes we overlook the humble donation, but I would rather you say, can you give me $10, $25 a month versus giving me $200 now and then it's done? Because I've been given to organizations for years, and I'm sure you all have too, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit like Netflix. We have been given to organizations for years, like, and I set it and forget it. Use the same models of the for-profits for your nonprofits, and you will see how you can nurture your growth, and you will grow in areas of funding that will exponentially help to support your organization with flexibility. That's where the donors are, with flexibility. So we say, yes, it has all my money. Make the fees. Consider, where can we charge fees? Can we consult other smaller organizations that are doing something similar, but they don't know, help them grow capacity? Do we have large office space that we could rent out one of the rooms sometime? Think about where you could get fees. Again, these are just ways, using resources that you may already have so that other people could tap into your knowledge and give you fees. Okay, for it. Consider, what is the market willing to pay for it? It might be your curriculum. You might have some curriculum in the program that you're doing. You're seeing major strides. Consider, first of all, trademarking and then licensing or selling your curriculum. You'll be surprised how many people buy digital products online. We know it's a booming market. Why can't you do that too? Okay, events, consider how it will work and who are going to be your supporters, what kind of events they want and they will need. Grants, I left this down here. If you don't know where to find grants, I know a lot of you do and may have, but some of you may not. I always say Google it first. And they'll be like, you can't find grants on Google. That's not true. You can actually find grants on Google. And if you're a younger organization and you have to start off with mini grants, first of all, because it's not, no government funder is going to give $100,000 to a grant to an organization who just got started yesterday. Sorry, that's not going to happen. So you have to build yourself up. One, you're building up your proof to show give me, but then you have some small organizations. We've been doing it for 6 months. They'll give you the $1,000. They'll give you $5,000. Those different things. But you have to be showing them that proof. So you can Google it on the screen, take a screenshot. You'll see there's some, some things and search keys that you can put in your search engine right there, and it will give you some local mini grants or some local funding programs that can help your organization. So maybe once a week, get a board member, get a volunteer, get your teenage son to say, listen, you're a volunteer for the organization. Once a week, just sit down there for 30 minutes and Google and put it in a spreadsheet, and let's see how we could find some more kind of small grant funding that is not as laborious for our organization. Corporate sponsors, again, they like, look at their giving reports. Where did you like to give? Talk to the people. You have a store, you've been successful in our community, you've been here. How do you want to partner with us? Look at these different things. And I want to point out this key right here. Set up a Google alert, because Google will search the website for you. So everything news that might be happening, funds, or I do feeding the homeless or feeding population of healthy foods. If there's something out there, you could put keywords in there and it'll send you a list of, check this stuff out. So you'll be in the know, first of all, because you need to know what they want to know. So you need to be able to have those conversations. So that's just a trick that you can do as well. All right. If you want to go deeper, I know this was, hopefully it was a lot. And I failed to tell y'all in the beginning that since I'm from the Caribbean, sometimes I talk fast. So forgive me if I was a little too fast. We'll send a replay. It's going to be available for a limited time. So you can just go ahead and take your notes from there again. But if you want to go deeper with us, I offer impact coaching. I offer one-on-one impact coaching, but today with this QR code, it's really for, excuse me, group coaching, where we could get like just having a conversation. What some of the things of questions I want you to look at. What is your knowledge about these kind of grant sources? Because you were a funder. What does this look like for me? Can you help me? I'm trying to figure out how to collect data. Is this a good outcome statement? All of those things we could cover in a group together. So this is a QR code on the screen. I'll take you right to a forum, as a forum just kind of saying I'm interested, and then you'll get an email with more details on that if that's something that you're interested in, you would like to sign up for. We offer that. It's been successful. Been working with clients. I told you I was going to share with you some of the things that we do. We work with clients to coach. We work with clients. We have worked with clients to actually capacity build and mentor for years. We work with clients to help them once they get the money, keep the money with reporting. Because remember, I was the one people reported to. So I had to I know what funders look for to make sure that their systems are still in place and their files are in place. So I could tell you some of that. One time I had a organization that had got the funds, a small organization, and I sent my staff out to look at the files like we had to do an audit, and there were no files. And we're like, what do you mean? There's no files or empty file folders. And so again, that was one of those things like, you better prove to us that you've been doing the work or we're going to take our money back. You're going to pay us back. So because I have this knowledge and my team has this knowledge, we help with doing some of this. Here's some of our clients. I wanted to show this to you because sometimes we're like, I don't know. I can't do coaching. I don't think it's necessary. I just come to training, and that's fine. Right. We love the YouTube University. We're going to be launching our YouTube page here in the next couple of months, where you'll be able to see. Actually, we're launching it now. It's soft launch. You'll start seeing some little videos of me on there, kind of just teaching. So I agree. I love YouTube University. But when you decide that you want to go deeper, even if you want to go one-on-one, I wanted to kind of show you what has happened over the last year. Because it doesn't matter what size you are. You're like, I don't know if I can, what size? This is a small organization. If you look on top, right, you see the name of the organization. We all know if you're in the nonprofit sector, a 990N means what? You have under $50,000. All right, so this is 22, under $50,000. The bottom picture was from last year. We worked with that organization. We helped to get some of the capacity foundational things together as far as documentation. What is the program that you're doing? We're building out a curriculum with them and for them. We're like, these are the outcomes. This is how you measure it to show that you, and they were able to receive two $150,000 3-year grants. So it's $150,000 for 3 years from local government, as just from working with us and our mentoring and just reviewing documents and teaching this organization. So you can see the difference there. The next one I'm going to show you is, again, look at the 990 2022, under $50,000. You know what that means. This organization was able to receive, can you see that number? It's probably really small. I'm gonna have to blow it up. $2.4 million from a state grant. And since then, what this doesn't show you, this is from 2023, but this doesn't show you, we've working with them. We do the contract compliance and making sure that the reporting is right with them. And we work with that organization to help build their capacity. Now, the executive director is awesome. She knows a lot of stuff, but she wanted some additional help in doing those things. She was able to land that. Just yesterday, I got a message from her saying that there was an additional grant that was won to another $2 million earlier this year. And then $1.5 million was announced yesterday from another grant source for the state grant source. Remember, she's coming from $50,000 to this. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to go here in less than a year, right? She had been around for a while. This is not, she's been growing. She's been trying to prove what she's doing, and she's looking and she's putting things in place. And this is the success that she was able to get by just saying, hey, come alongside, help me do some stuff. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And we know that working with people to help us see what we are seeing clearer helps us all do that. So again, I'm going to go back to this slide real quick. If you didn't take a screenshot and you're interested in it, it's just an interest form right now. We'll send you more information and we could go from there. Feel free to screenshot this slide and let us know. This one is group coaching. We have higher level programs, so we could schedule that if you just want to talk to us about, I don't know if there want group coaching. I might want to do something a little different for our specific organization. Then I'll take you here. First of all, download the free ebook that I have. Download it, save it, share it. we'll be happy to have it. So this is a page I'll leave up with multiple QR codes. Of course, the center one is a way to schedule a 15-minute chat with me. It's free. Let's talk about it. It's specific to your organization, how anything can help, how do we build something for you. And then we have a group on Facebook called Fund and Grow My Nonprofit. It's just an open group that we're inviting people into to just kind of build and grow community around that. And again, hearing from us and sharing with each other and sharing together so that we can learn, grow, and impact together. We are 2 minutes away from 11 o'clock, and I wanted to make sure that everyone has a wonderful Saturday. I'm going to open up the floor. If you have any more questions or any comments, feel free to put it in the chat or let me know, raise your hand so we can make sure that if somebody wants to speak, we can have you speak, come off of mute. But I welcome you to have a conversation now.
No question. I just wanted to say thank you again so much. My husband and I, our jaws are on the floor. I mean, we're just so excited to go ahead and schedule a consult and really get things moving forward. We do have a couple projects that we're working with partners around the county, and we want to make sure we have enough funds to be able to provide that for them.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Go ahead and schedule. Let's chat as soon as possible, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
You too. Take care. Anyone else will hang out for the last minute or
Well, I
so?
just wanted to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to come here and learn a little bit. I have learned a lot. I'm waiting. You said you'd be sending a recorded session out, right? A recording of
Yes, once
the.
we get it rendered,
Okay.
we'll email all the registrants so that you'll have opportunity to listen to that for a little bit, and then eventually we'll probably put something like this up on our YouTube page eventually too.
Okay. All right. Because then I will allow our CEO Kim to listen to it and
Oh,
get. I
Kim,
took
I
a
say
lot of
hi.
notes. Okay, I will. I took a lot of notes, and I will. She's away for her birthday this weekend, so Tuesday when we get back together, I'll go over those notes with her. But thank
Awesome.
you so much.
All right, take care. All right, it's 11 o'clock. If anyone had to come in late or miss anything, yes, we will be sending out the recording access to all of the registrants, and you should be seeing it in an email as well. It'll be for a limited time, but you'll have time to look at it again if you were not able to be here. If you have any last burning questions, let me know. If not, we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. You all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Take some time for yourself. I know how it is to be in the nonprofit sector and working and all of those things. So make sure you take some time for yourself and relax a little bit. All right. We're going to go ahead and end now. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.